She's your queen to be, a queen to be forever, a queen who'll do whatever His Highness desires. She's your queen to be, a vision of perfection, an object of affection to quench your royal fire. Completely free from infection, to be used at your discretion, waiting only for your direction. Your queen to be. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. Paul Oates, who does that little song in the movie, did a way better job in the movie than I just did. But yeah, all that from memory, just because I've seen it a million times. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Welcome to another classic movie review. I'm talking about Coming to America, a classic comedy from 1988 starring the great Eddie Murphy in one of his great comedies, directed by John Landis. One of his great comedies that he directed, the director of The Blues Brothers, An American Werewolf in London, directed Eddie Murphy in Trading Places. When this movie came out in 1988, Eddie Murphy was one of the kings of the box office at that time, riding high off of the success of movies like 48 Hours, his big breakout film, then of course Beverly Hills Cop. There was a little movie that's kind of forgotten by now, known as Best Defense. There was The Golden Child, but I don't think that was a huge hit for him, not like Beverly Hills Cop was, and Beverly Hills Cop 2, which came out a year before Coming to America. Before Coming to America, the characters that Murphy played in his early films all felt kind of similar in terms of the way he played them, because he was really using that Eddie Murphy persona with like the fast-talking guys and the guys that were quick on their feet and kind of foul-mouthed and from the streets, characters like Reggie Hammond, Billy Ray Valentine, Axel Foley. But with Prince Akeem, he's playing an educated guy, a guy that's royalty. It's kind of a romantic leading man kind of character. I personally feel Eddie Murphy is a really good actor, and I think in this movie he really steps it up in the acting department. I know recently he's had some awards consideration for some of his more dramatic type films, but as far as comedy goes, I think this is one of his best comedic performances. And Prince Akeem does feel like this regal personality that is really all because of Eddie Murphy's ability as an actor. After his first few box office hits, this was the first time where we got to see a different side of Eddie Murphy, a more serious side in certain scenes and more of a romantic kind of guy and more sensitive at times, but all the while not losing what we love about him and what makes him so funny. And he is funny as ever in this movie. He plays, I think, 4 different roles. Murphy's co-star in this movie, Arsenio Hall, also plays a few different parts, and his main part he plays in this film is as his friend Semi. And at the very beginning of the film, we are introduced to this place called Zamunda. Zamunda is this very beautiful fictional place in Africa, ruled by James Earl Jones, playing the role of King Jaffe, and playing his wife, the Queen, is Madge Sinclair in the role of Alio. And at the very beginning of the film, we see that it is their son Akeem's 21st birthday, and when he wakes up in bed for the first time in the movie, we learn of his routine, his sort of morning ritual, his getting up and the bathing, and he doesn't have to brush his own teeth or anything like that. He doesn't even have to bathe himself. I gotta mention some of those jokes that open the movie are pretty R-rated and kind of set the tone for the kind of humor you're gonna get throughout the movie. So yeah, this is not like the Eddie Murphy films that he would come out with in the early 2000s when he started going all PG. This is very old school, edgy R-rated Eddie Murphy type stuff in the best way possible, I gotta say. Now that Akeem is 21, he's expected to go through with this arranged marriage, but he doesn't want to marry somebody just because he's supposed to and because they're supposed to. He wants somebody to marry him out of love and for who he is. And so he decides to find a way to postpone the arrangement in order to take a little trip with his friend Semi. and his father just says, "Oh, you just want to sow your royal oats," basically. James Earl Jones as the king is a real treat for a movie fan when you watch him in this film. He has a great screen presence and very commanding, and you really do buy him as King Jaffe, especially with that voice. And he comes off very intimidating. At the same time, there are moments when they allow him to be kind of funny, and he is pretty funny in some scenes. And he has pretty good chemistry with Murphy, I think. And there are a couple moments in the film where sometimes I can't help but think of Vader because his voice is so synonymous with that character. There's even a couple of lines in the film with a delivery that's very Vader like and even kind of written almost like to sound like something Vader would say. He says something at one point like, "I shall deal with him myself." And it sounds like a line right out of Empire Strikes Back. Probably is, to be honest. But yeah, he's a treat to watch in this movie. Arsenio Hall in the role of Simi is also very funny in this movie. Him and Eddie Murphy make a great comedy team, and his character goes along with Murphy's character on this trip to America. Where they go, I'm not going to tell you because it's just fun to watch the movie for the first time and see how they come to that decision. There is this hilarious scene where Prince Hakeem and Semi go to this black awareness rally where there is this beauty pageant going on, and they're basically looking for potential brides for Hakeem, and a couple of the side characters that Arsenio Hall and Murphy play show up on the stage. One of them being Reverend Brown, played by Arsenio Hall, who was hilarious as Reverend Brown, and I think his name is Randy Watson, this really hacky singer, this like really bad singer that people don't really like, but there's like one guy in the audience that keeps clapping whenever he like finishes singing or during his singing. After the singer guy finishes the song, him and his band get off the stage, and so do the beauty pageant contestants, and then a woman gets on the stage to give a pretty earnest speech to the community, played by Cherie Headley, and she's playing the character of Lisa McDowell. And this is when Murphy's character Akeem sees her and instantly falls in love, and from that moment on wants to get to know her, wants to find out anything about her, and wants to basically be around her. And in order to do that, he has to get a job at McDowell's, and it's basically McDonald's, but kind of a few differences. You know, they got the Big Mac, and McDowell's has the Big Mick, things like that. You know, the McDonald's has the Golden Arches. McDowell's has the Golden Arcs. There's a very hysterical standout scene in a barbershop where Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall are under heavy makeup playing these different characters, a couple of barbers, and they have some pretty funny conversations about Dr. Martin Luther King and about boxing. And if you look close, you'll see young Cuba Gooding Jr. There's also a scene in the film where there is a very short but memorable appearance by a then unknown Samuel L. Jackson, where he shows up at the McDowell's restaurant completely out of nowhere. So even though Lisa is with her rich boyfriend Daryl, who is rich because of his family's hair products business, uh, she's still kind of into Akeem, and Akeem is very much into her. And of course, there's a little romance that begins to blossom. Lisa has no idea who Akeem really is because when she meets him for the first time, she meets him as an employee of her father's, since he and Simi take jobs at McDowell's in order to get close to her so that he can get to know her. But there is that hurdle of Daryl, the boyfriend. Things get even more interesting when James Earl Jones' character King Jaffe shows up in town with his wife and his entourage looking for Akeem because they want to bring him back to Zamunda. And this is a movie that has one hilarious moment right after another, one hysterical scene right after another. And this is a movie that I highly recommend if you're a fan of 80s comedies, if you're a fan of Eddie Murphy, if you want to see Eddie Murphy in his prime, at his best, doing what he does best, making people laugh in one of the funniest films of the 80s. This is one of those movies you gotta see. This is a 4-star comedy as far as I'm concerned, an Eddie Murphy classic, a John Landis classic, and a movie that you should definitely seek out. I think you can find this on Paramount Plus, but like I'm always saying, hard copies are out there for the time being. Before you know it, they're going to be gone, and so I encourage people to pick these up if they are, so inclined. But if not, streaming is also the way to go if that's your bag. But Coming to America from 1988, this is my copy of the Blu-ray. Coming to America is a very funny film, and if you're looking for a laugh, this film is definitely the way to go. And for some people, Eddie Murphy might not be your cup of tea. I know that the early years of the Eddie Murphy films are more on the R-rated side, and so not everybody's into that kind of humor, and that's completely understandable. But if R-rated humor is definitely your cup of tea, like it is mine, then yeah, check it out. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for watching. If you're into this kind of thing, if you're into movies, if you're a new viewer, hit the bell, become a subscriber. Please don't forget to comment, share, like. It really helps out the channel. If you're a returning viewer, I very much appreciate you watching. And please look out for the next classic movie review. Everybody take care. Till next time, happy holidays.